up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Wake and Jake College Football Show. Um, Today is going to be the quarterfinal recap, College Football Playoff Quarterfinal Recap. This was something that I had hoped to get out on Friday, but just scheduling issues, family in town. This was the only time I was able to do it, so I do apologize that I'm a few days late on recapping this. I'm sure everybody else who covers college football has already gotten out their recaps, and I am probably the very last one. But I'm doing it. I'm here. We're going to recap the quarterfinals. And actually, you know what? Yeah, let's just get right into it. No intro really needed. Quarterfinals overall. The Ohio State Miami game was good. Then we had the two in between, which sucked. And then Georgia and Ole Miss was phenomenal to cap it off. Um, we are going to go in order. And honestly, I mean, okay, so you know what? We're not going to go in order. We're going to get the two worst ones out of the way. Texas Tech and Oregon. We're going to start with that one. What a dominant performance from Oregon's defense. This is a Texas Tech offense that had been phenomenal all year, throwing the ball, running the ball. There was no, I guess, weakness on this offense. They were phenomenal all season, one of the top scoring offenses, and they got completely shut out by Oregon's defense, which is not really something I expected from them. I don't think anybody really expected that from them. That was a great showing from Oregon's defense. Now, to give Texas Tech a little credit, uh, all year we've been talking about how great this defense is. Uh, all year we've talked about how great the defensive line is, how great the linebackers are, how great this run defense is. But then there was always the asterisk that they play in the Big 12, and so how good are they actually? Because the Big 12 is significantly inferior to every other conference out there, and some even were saying that inferior to the Big 12, or I mean to the ACC, which I don't agree with. Um, this Texas Tech defense was very good. They did a great job slowing down Oregon. There was a lot of people who were saying that Dante Moore did not look good in this game. I don't know. I mean, was he the best we've seen? No. Do I think he played bad? No. In my opinion, and we'll talk about the other top quarterback here in a little bit. He is the best quarterback, one of the top two quarterbacks in the country, in my opinion. And no, spoiler, the other quarterback that I'm going to talk about is not Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman winner. Um, he is obviously up there, but I think Dante Moore, just based on pure talent and just how well he has been playing, how well he sees the field for the most part, I do think Dante Moore is a top two quarterback in the country. But yeah, Texas Tech's defense, they are legit. Even though they play in the Big 12, even though there was question marks around that, a very good defense. Um, but the offense just got absolutely dominated by Oregon. Texas Tech's offense finished with 215 yards, 4 turnovers. They were sacked 4 times. But again, Texas Tech's defense kept them in it for the most part. This was only a 6-0 game at halftime. This was, again, a very low scoring. Oregon had to go for it a lot on fourth downs, had to settle for multiple field goals. One of the final touchdowns was with like no time remaining, basically. It was fourth and goal with like 20 seconds left when they scored a touchdown. So this was a very low scoring, and honestly, Texas Tech was technically in it for pretty much the whole game. Didn't really ever feel like, though, that they were going to win because of just how dominant Oregon's defense was. Oregon finished the day only 4 of 19 on third down, which is not good. But they did go for it 8 times on fourth down, and they were 4 of 8. They allowed 9 tackles for loss. I had said in the preview that the team that had the most success against this Texas Tech defense running the ball was Kansas State with 126 yards. And I had foolishly said that Oregon was going to be the next team to break that, that they were going to be the team that had the most success against Texas Tech. Wrong. Definitely not the case. I Texas Tech got beat so badly, but I want to give them their flowers because their defense did play great. Oregon is currently a 4.5 point dog in the next round in the semifinals against Indiana in that rematch, which I'm so excited for. I'm so excited for that rematch. We'll kind of get into that here in a second. To win it all, currently, Oregon is plus 310 to win it all. They have the second best odds. Um, but yeah, what a great win for Oregon. Just a dominant performance from their defense. Offense could have been better. I feel like people are giving Oregon's offense a lot more hate than they deserve because that Texas Tech defense is very, very good. Moving on to the Rose Bowl, Indiana and Alabama. Here, a lot of things that I never thought I would be saying, even just like before the year started a couple years ago. Indiana's the number one team in the country. Never thought I would say that. Indiana's currently undefeated. Never thought I would say that. Indiana's playing in the Rose Bowl. Never thought I would say that. Um, Indiana's favored over Alabama in the college football playoff. Never thought I would say that. Um, we talk about Kurt Signetti and this in this Indiana turnaround a lot. It is talked about nonstop. Honestly, we don't talk about it enough. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, uh, yes. By the way, I do chief. That is kind of the premise of my show. Is I try to do a wake and bake sesh, get a little stoned, and talk college football. Um, but yeah, never. This is something that uh, a lot of these phrases I never thought I would say. This turnaround for this Indiana football program has been. They're gonna. Kurt Signetti even said it after the Rose Bowl. They're gonna make a movie about it one day, and honestly, they should because this has been such a crazy turnaround, such a great story, and we talk about it all the time, but I don't feel like we talk about it enough. This was absolute domination from Indiana, basically from start to finish. Um, Kurt Signetti, absolute killer. This 38-3 over Alabama, insane. I I mean, I thought going into this game, I had said, obviously Alabama has the more talented roster if we're going off of like 4 and 5 stars. But Indiana's the much better team, and that was proven in the Rose Bowl when they won 38-3. Guys, 38-3 over Alabama. And Alabama's 3 points, I'm not gonna say garbage time, but those 3 points basically came in garbage time. It was a rough showing from Alabama's offense. Their Indiana's defense just absolutely dominated them. Ty Simpson ended up leaving the game with an injury. They had to bring in Austin Mack, which, I mean, for the first drive, he didn't look terrible, but then after that, nothing. Just absolutely nothing. Um, Alabama was 3 of 13 on third and fourth downs. They had 193 total yards. To put that into perspective, Indiana had more yards on the ground than Alabama had total yards. Indiana had 192 yards through the air. Alabama finished with 193 total yards. They were just dominated at all facets of the game. Fernando Mendoza, he had more touchdowns than he had incompletions. He finished 14 of 16, so 2 incompletions, and he had 3 touchdowns. Absolutely insane. This You could argue that Indiana should have beat Alabama by a lot more than they did. Just game was over so quickly. It was not a if you're an Indiana fan or if you're just an Alabama hater or an SEC hater, you probably loved this game. But for the rest of everybody, people who are not an Alabama hater, not an SEC hater, or not an Indiana fan, this game sucked. I think we can all agree this game kind of sucked. But shout out to Indiana. Like I had already mentioned, they are currently a 4.5 point favorite over Oregon, um, and they're current favorites to win it all, which they should be, honestly, at this point, undefeated and just dominating everybody. They are currently plus 130 to win it all. All right, we'll move on to the two best games of the quarterfinal. Um, we'll start with Ohio State and Miami in the Cotton Bowl. Miami comes away with a 24-14 win, and I feel like Ohio State. This was a what a terrible way to end the season. Let's just put it that way. Absolute terrible way to end the season. You lose to Indiana in the Big Ten championship. You lose to Miami in the first, your first game, first playoff game. Just brutal. Miami's defense, phenomenal, and that hurts to say because Miami stole Corey Heatherman right from the Gophers. That one, when it happened, hurt a lot, and it hurts even more when you see just how dominant Miami's defense has been and how not great the Gophers defense was this year. So that one still stings a lot, but it's nice to, I guess, see him have some success. Um, but yeah, Miami's defense, absolute nightmare for Ohio State. Two forced two turnovers. They had a one of those turnovers was turned into a touchdown. Five sacks held Ohio State to 3 of 10 on third downs. I said going into this game, if Miami wants to beat Ohio State, they have to get after Julian Sain. They have to do what Indiana did to Ohio State, and that's exactly what they did. They got after Julian Sain, made him uncomfortable. He still managed to throw for like, I don't know, 270 yards or something crazy like that, but he didn't ever really look comfortable, especially in that first half. Second half got better, um, but he never looked really comfortable at all. Uh, Offensively for Miami, I mean, my one worry going into this game was that uh, if Ohio State was able to shut down Malachi Tony, that behind him the receivers were not that great, and Ohio State would have a good shot to win. Now, obviously, I know Mark Fletcher's a thing, but if Ohio State was leading and Malachi Tony was completely shut down, I didn't know if I trusted the other receivers that were playing. I was wrong. Malachi Tony finished with 5 receptions for 16 yards. I mean, he was basically shut down the whole entire game. Um, Marion and Daniels though combined for 10 catches, 85 yards. Again, not great, but better than I thought they would be if Malachi Tony was completely shut down. Mark Fletcher, 21 touches, 115 yards and a touchdown, and Carson Beck. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he was amazing, that this was the best game he's ever played, blah, 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 all of that. But he didn't turn the ball over. He was very efficient with the ball, made the right decision, and something you never see from Carson Beck, or at least not that often, utilized his legs and made some plays and critical plays with his legs. Um, if we really break it down into two plays that really just killed Ohio State, it was the missed field goal, the 49-yarder. That one hurt. That could have made this game significantly different right before half. Those 3 points um, would have helped a lot, especially at the end of the game. And then that pick six. That was Julian Sayin has been one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the country. But that throw, that screen pass that they threw that was picked up, I think it was Keontae Scott that got it and returned it. That was a terrible throw. And honestly, again, if we're boiling it down into 2 plays that really turned the tide of this game, it was that pick six and that missed field goal. Those were absolute killers for Ohio State. But shout out to Carson Beck. Like I said, wasn't flashy, wasn't wasn't blowing up the stat sheet. But he did what he needed to do. Utilized his legs, made the right plays, made the right decisions, and that's the thing is with Carson Beck, I would say 9 times out of 10, that's the Carson Beck you're going to get. You're going to get somebody who makes the right decision, makes the right throws, isn't going to turn the ball over, and then And then you'll get that one game here and there where he just can't stop turning the ball over and he loses the game for you. But so far, that has not shown up in the playoffs. Um, he has been against Texas A&M. I'm not going to sit here and say he was great because he looked uncomfortable against Texas A&M's defense, but again, didn't turn the ball over, made the right decisions. In this game, played I would say a lot better than he did against Texas A&M, but still made all the right decisions, utilized his legs. Uh, yeah, like you're saying there in the chat, he played like a veteran. And that's what you want from Carson Beck. You don't need him to be, like you're saying here, showboating superstar. He played like a veteran, made the right decisions, and if that's something he can continue moving forward, I mean, they're already a favorite against Ole Miss, who we're going to talk about here in a second, which they should be because that defense is just phenomenal. Um, but Miami has a real shot to win it all. Shout out to Carson Beck. Shout out to Mario Cristobal. Again, another person that on Miami's team, Miami staff, that I have been critical on. He is a coach that his in-game coaching, in-game management is questionable at times. Uh, it is something that has lost them games in the past, and so far, I mean, at least in the playoffs, has not happened. Obviously, since they're still playing, um, and what he's done with this team, you know, what Mario Cristobal does is he's great recruiter, high school and through the portal. He builds his teams the right way from the offensive and defensive lines and out. And then, like I had already mentioned, he went out and paid for, hired, whatever you want to say, Corey Heatherman, which has been a difference maker for Miami this year. Again, that one hurts a lot. It hurts that Corey Heatherman left Minnesota after just one season. It hurts to see how bad Minnesota's defense has been and how great Miami's has been. But shout out Miami. You're moving on. I really did not think they would get this far. I figured they would beat Texas A&M. I did not think they had a chance to beat Ohio State. Uh, Shout out to Miami on that one. And if you're a Miami fan, you've got to be feeling great. Why wouldn't you? All right, Sugar Bowl, Georgia, Ole Miss. This was easily the best game of the second round, and honestly, uh, best game of the playoffs so far. I think we can all agree on that. Um, it was I was so wrong on this game when I was previewing it. So going into this game, Georgia obviously had like a month off basically. Um, but going into this game, Georgia's defense had hit a stride and were playing phenomenal. Beginning of the year, struggle in the first half of games, get it together in the second half. But by the end of the season, they were dominating teams from start to finish. Um, and so I figured, based on the last meeting, uh, that was still at a time when Georgia was struggling in the first half, playing well in the second half. I figured, it's not going to take 3 quarters to figure out how to slow down Trinidad Chambliss. Uh, Georgia's going to win this game, and honestly, I had Georgia winning it all, and I could not have been more wrong. Trinidad Chambliss. I already mentioned earlier how I think Dante Moore is a top 2 quarterback in college football. Um, the reason I'm not saying he's the best quarterback is because Trinidad Chambliss exists, and I know Fernando Mendoza exists, but whatever. Trinidad Chambliss, without him, Ole Miss gets absolutely dominant. If Austin Simmons was still the quarterback, if Trinidad Chambliss was never a thing or was hurt and Austin Simmons was the quarterback, Ole Miss is never in this position. They would have gotten absolutely routed by Georgia, and this game would have never been close. Trinidad Chambliss, yes, the defense helped, but Trinidad Chambliss won this game for Ole Miss. Um, Ole Miss won 39-34, which that score was a little misleading because there was that random safety at the end. It was 37-34, before that kickoff. 30 total points scored in that fourth quarter. Georgia was down 10, and we're going to talk about that Kirby Smart. Well, I don't know if it was Kirby Smart or if it was Gunnar Stockton, whoever it was. We're going to talk about that fourth down decision in a little bit. But 10 minutes left in the game, or just under. Georgia's down 10 points. They come back. They tie it with just under a minute left. and you think, all right, this game's going to overtime. And what is the one thing you can't do if you're Georgia? You cannot get beat deep. You cannot let a receiver get behind you. And that's exactly what they did. They let a receiver get behind them. Trinidad Chambliss, he's good enough. He saw it right away. Brutal. Brutal, brutal, brutal for Georgia, because this was a game that you should have won, but you didn't. Uh, Trinidad Chambliss, again, I can't. I said how we talk about Indiana's turnaround, Kurt Signetti turning Indiana around. We've been talking about it all year, nonstop, and deservedly so. We should honestly be talking about them more. Same goes for Trinidad Chambliss. We are not talking about him enough, and he gets talked about all the time. To go from no Division One offers out of high school, going D2, and then making that jump from D2 to the SEC, not going D2 to G5 and then the SEC, no, going straight from Division 2 to the SEC and then taking over the starting job, you know, relatively quick into the season, unheard of, absolutely unheard of. And then to play like he's played all season, what a great story. We do not talk about just how crazy that story is enough. Um, he really is such an easy guy to root for, even if you're a Mississippi State fan or you just are an Ole Miss hater, SEC hater, you have to appreciate what Trinidad Chambliss has done. His story is, I guess, inspiring to some, you would say, but it really is such a great story, and we don't give him enough credit. He finished the game 30 of 46 for 362 yards and 2 touchdowns. Um, And if I remember correctly, he finished the game with like 13 or at one point in that second half had like 13 or 14 straight completions. Absolutely insane, absolutely unstoppable. And he was uh, shades of Johnny Manziel in him when he was under pressure, scrambling around, and he throws a ball, and he would find a guy and he'd throw it, and you'd be like, I don't know about that throw, and then it's right on the money, 30 yards down the field. It was shout out to Trinidad Chambliss. He won that game for Ole Miss. Um, I say all of that. I don't want to dismiss Georgia though, because they did outside of I would really say one or two plays or one or two decisions even played very well and played well enough to win this game. Gunnar Stockton, I mean that dude is well, I mean he's a bulldog, but he is a dog. He put his body on the line. He did everything in his power to get Georgia across the finish line. Some may argue that he was playing with a concussion in that game after he got rocked. There is a video. If you didn't see it, go check it out on my page, whether it's TikTok or YouTube. There was a time in the game where he went to line up under the left guard um, to take the snap, and Nate Frazier had to run up and uh, move him over. Um, a lot of speculation from people thinking he may have been concussed at that point. I think it was just because Georgia had so many offensive linemen on the field that he just got confused. Either way, shout out to Gunnar Stockton. He put his body on the line for Georgia to win that game. It's unfortunate for Georgia. Um, again, I had Georgia winning it also. I was disappointed to see them lose, but it's hard not to root for Trinidad Chambliss. So I'm not that upset if I'm going to be completely honest. And like I said, easily the best game of the second round, and honestly, best game of the playoff. Uh, Ole Miss currently is a 3.5 point dog to Miami going into the semifinals, and they are plus 570 to win it all. So they have the worst odds currently to win it all. And I mean, I can't say I'm shocked by that because I do think obviously Trinidad Chambliss is great, but the defense defense could use a little work for Ole Miss. Now, do I think their defense is good enough to stifle Miami or keep it close? Definitely. But Miami's defense, man. Trinidad Chambliss, what he was doing against Georgia, scrambling around, avoiding pressure, making insane throws. I don't know if he can do that against Miami. So that would make me a little nervous if I were an Ole Miss fan. Um, I guess I could say I'm a Trinidad Chambliss fan. So as a Trinidad Chambliss fan, I am a little nervous about Miami's defense because again, I don't think he's going to be able to scramble around and make the throws that he made against Georgia. Um, but all in all, I mean, yes, we had two blowouts in the middle, but Ohio State Miami was a great game. Ole Miss and Georgia was a phenomenal game. And actually, we're going to talk a little bit more about Georgia and Miami because I like to finish every show off with my favorite segment, Dude, Are You High? And this week's winner of Dude, Are You High? I guess I don't know who I'm giving it to. I guess I don't know if it's Kirby Smart I give it to, if it's Gunnar Stockton I give it to, because in that fourth quarter, with just under 10 minutes left in the game, Ole Miss is leading 27-24. Georgia has the ball. It is 4th and 2 on their own 33, and they keep the offense out there. And it was one of those things, are they actually going to snap it and run a play, or are they just trying to do a hard count and get Ole Miss offside? And then the ball was snapped. Gunnar Stockton was under pressure immediately, gets sacked for like a 10-yard loss. Ole Miss gets the ball at the 23-yard line, and 2 plays later, they take a 10-point lead. I don't know if that is on Kirby Smart for wanting to actually run a play, or if Gunnar Stockton wasn't supposed to have the ball hiked, if he was just supposed to try to draw people offsides, Ole Miss offside. Because if you watch, basically like the left side of the offensive line was like a second or two late in reacting, and that's why he was under pressure immediately. Um, it was a bizarre play, especially on your own 33 with 10 minutes left in the game, and you're only down three. Why would you give Ole Miss that great field position? There was some sort of miscommunication somewhere, obviously. Like I said, the line was late reacting to the snap. I don't know if it was never supposed to be snapped. I don't know whose decision that was, but it was somebody's decision, and that decision had you wondering, dude, are you high? Um, I'm excited for the semifinals. I guess I was excited for this round too, and we still had a couple of stinkers, but I'm really excited for that Oregon Indiana rematch. Um, I am excited to see what Trinidad Chambliss can do against this Miami defense, if he can do anything at all. I think, and here's the great thing about the playoff: you've got Oregon, who has never won a national title. You've got Indiana, who's never won a national title. You've got Ole Miss, who has never won a national title. And you've got Miami, who has won some national titles, has not done it since 2001, I believe. Uh, so you are going to have either a brand new national champion who's never won it before, or a team who hasn't won it in over 20 years. Either way, great story. And it's kind of refreshing to not see, the usual suspects playing for the title. It's nice not to see Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, I guess. It's nice not to see the usual suspects in competing for the title. And so for that alone, I'm really excited for the semifinals and for the national championship. I think it's going to be, I hope it's going to be a couple of great games. And man, we don't have much football left. We have three, I guess, if you want to count the FCS championship, which is on Monday, by the way, tomorrow. And I will definitely be watching that, but I don't cover the FCS. We only have three football games left, so we got to cherish every moment. I hope that these games are worth the watch. Um, and it would be nice to see Miami win, I guess, because it has been over 20 years. But I want to see a brand new national champion, whether it's Oregon, Indiana, or Ole Miss. I don't really have a rooting interest, I guess. Gun to my head, if I'm going to pick somebody to win it all, give me give me Oregon to win the rematch against Indiana. Give me Miami to beat Ole Miss, and then give me Oregon over Miami in the national title. So right now, I'll say it. I'm gonna say Oregon wins it all. But yeah, thank y'all for joining me. I will be back later this week to not only preview the semifinals, but then I will also recap the semifinals. And then moving forward, Sundays. I was a little late today, but moving forward, Sundays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, I will be going live. Um, a series that I'm starting to do, and I did this last week. The video never got uploaded, so I may have to redo it. But I'm recapping every Power Four conference team by team, giving them a grade, recapping their season, just talking about them for 2 to 5 minutes, depending. So, like a team like Boston College, I'm only going to spend like a minute or two on them. A team like Miami, I'll probably spend at least 5 minutes talking about them. Um, but yeah, that's what you can expect moving forward. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The season is almost over. It's a sad day, um, but man, this is what we've been waiting for, and I'm excited. So thank you all for joining me. I will talk to you later this week.